This is a subject that's very near my heart. I'm going to be 78. And a lot of times we don't think about everything that we're grieving. When we lose someone, we know we're grieving for that person. But what is it about that person you are grieving? I have a sister, one left, that has been through everything with me, knows everything that's happened to me in my lifetime. And we talk about it, and she understands. She was there. So all these things people say are rumors, she was there. She knows the truth. When I lose her, I lose that comrade, that person who knows everything about me. So when I grieve for that person, I'm also grieving for a loss of my past, a loss of my history. And what we don't recognize is we really don't think about that. We just think about, the person we're missing, or maybe you do. Every time I lose someone, I think about all the memories that we shared, the happy times, but I remember that they're part of my past. And as I age, my past is disappearing. The movie stars, the movies that I saw are still there forever, but the movie stars are passing. And I've started mourning every movie star because that's a past. I was doing this when that movie came out. When Jaws came out, Jason was this age. When Star Wars came out, this is what was going on in my life. So I can look at the movies, but I'm also looking at the stars. And that was a part of my life. So I'm grieving it. Do I know that I am? I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just an old lady thinking. So what do you grieve as a senior in your last chapter? And we are in our last chapter. Could be 20 years, could be 10, could be 5, who knows? What are you grieving? If you're grieving anything or acknowledging your grief, because somehow we have to deal with it. It affects us. And I think it affects us by creating loneliness in our lives because these things are gone. We're not sure why we're so lonely, but all these things are gone. How do you handle it? I'm not a psychiatrist, but I am going to talk just about the things I think we're grieving without really knowing it. And times of camaraderie with friends and family. Those special times, once enjoyed, never to happen again. Every day I go, this day is never going to come around again. And it's not. It's not going to be repeated. Our lifetime isn't going to be repeated. So it's something, I miss my energy and not being able to do all the things I used to do. So I'm kind of grieving that. I miss the jobs that made me feel like I was important. I made a difference. I'm doing a job now. I feel like I'm trying to make a difference, which is YouTube. But it took me a while to get here. All the events like walking on the moon, JFK, Martin Luther King, the birth of my son, my parents' death, all these things are losses. They were events. I was so happy that I got to be here when these events occurred. Once in a lifetime events. That's what they say. And that's what we're doing. Once in a lifetime events. Whether they're, well, this isn't very nice. This is the garage. So we have to talk and think about what is it that we need to grieve. And also what we need to celebrate. I am celebrating the fact I was here for those events. I am. So I'm missing all the things I was and will never be or do again. It's it's something to think about. It's something for us to look at and say, why are so many people lonely? And many people go, well, I don't have any children, or everybody's passed. But you're still here. You're still holding that memory. That memory is still alive. That event is still alive. At some point in the future, no one's going to be alive who can remember that event when it happened. We can remember. And so we need to celebrate that. And maybe our loneliness, if we can understand why we're lonely, I think that's a big question. Why is everybody lonely? I enjoy myself. Some of the best company I have is mine. Not always. But I'm trying to laugh because I'm at that age. And yes, it's a serious subject. How are we going to get past ourselves and this loneliness that everyone feels and the grief? And grieving is necessary. It is. I will tell you, when I lose someone, it takes me a long time to grieve. It takes me a couple of years. I keep their phone number. I call it all the time. I pretend that I know logically that they've passed, but I can still hear their voice. I can still watch one of Camo Dave's videos. He's still alive from me in my mind and in my heart. He's not here on earth. I still talk to them all the time. I still talk to Richiko almost every day. I think about her. I think about my friends that have passed. I constantly remember things with them, keeping them alive in my heart. So my mourning process is very, very long. It's very long. I don't know how else to tell you. How you respond to grief and how you mourn is a really individual thing. And we can get all the advice we want, but the reality is we have to manage it. And some people don't. You know, some couples have been together, I think it was two sisters that had been together all their lives. They were in their 80s. When the one passed, the other one was sitting beside her in a bed, and she passed within minutes after the other. Sometimes our heart just can't take it. Our hearts can't take the loss. Most of us still have to live on, but sometimes our hearts have a problem taking that loss. Just remember that you are special, and as long as you're alive, they're alive. That's the way I treat my grieving process. And I do grieve, but it's a long, long process. It never seems to end. It's always there, and they're always with me. They're always beside me. You know, and everyone thinks, oh, just get over it. No. You know, my friend, her husband's gone 7 months. I met him. Very nice man. 35 years together. That's serious. That's someone you depended on, was there, you spoke to every day for 35 years, most of your life, half of your life, if you're in your 70s. And I've seen 90-year-old couples that have been together 60 years, 70 years. I mean, I think one couple, they were both in their hundreds, had been together, and I can't believe it, 90 years. They were both in their hundreds. That's hard to believe, but again, this is what I've seen. Is it for real? I don't know. I do know grief is for real. I do know loneliness is for real. And if we allow ourselves to just go into this loneliness and stay there, we are not going to enjoy the time we have left. If we're always going to be grieving, and we're always going to be mourning a loss of our energy, a loss of our looks, the loss of our money, that's easy. That's easy. That's a fast mourn. The loss of the people who are, we knew that. We know it's coming. We know this is what's going to happen. So, how do you prepare? Not really. I don't know how you could possibly prepare for the loss of somebody. I try to talk to Jason. I try to prepare him. I try to say every time I see him or speak to him that I leave him with, I love you. This has been my way for many years. So if those are the last words I say, then they're the most important, because I want to say goodbye. I want to say goodbye. And I got the chance to say goodbye with Richiko, although she'd had Alzheimer's for like 5 years. Just a few days before she died, I've told you this before, I went to visit. Linda said, if you really want to see her alive, please come. And I did, and I walked in the room. In 5 years, she hasn't known me, 5 years. And she goes, Lindy, you drove such a long way to come see me. Knew me. We had a 2 or 3 minute conversation. And I told her how much I loved her, and she told me how much she loved me. And that's what I always want, is to leave someone with love in every message. So if it's my last message, it's a message of love. Maybe you could think about that. So I'm going to end this, because how can we stop talking? I could talk for hours on this. My thoughts, my feelings, my processes. That doesn't mean it's going to be helpful to you. But if you can recognize, they say, if you recognize something, then you can resolve it. I recognize in my head, loneliness is attached to loss and the grieving process. That's my thoughts. And that's what I'm going to end up with this. I hope you got something out of it, and you recognize everything you're grieving at an older age and why. And I think you can deal better with it and live for today. You got to live for today, because this is what you have. I'm so grateful for today. I don't know how many people don't reach 78. I have no statistics, but I'm very lucky to have reached this age and to have experienced everything I've experienced. And so are you. You're very lucky. No matter whether you're in a lot of pain, you got this, we all have it. We all have to deal with something. If somehow you can just be grateful for that little bit of time and how lucky you are. I'm going to end this. And I thank you. I hope that you share. I hope I've given you something for the day. I'm going to end this. I'm going to give you my love. And I'll see you next time.